This is a poor way to start a video, and it's very disrespectful to Port Vale. But this is a game I thought Oxford were going to win today. This is a game I penciled in that Oxford would get their first victory under Liam Manning. They didn't. They didn't lose it. It's another draw. It's 4 draws now for Manning in his reign as Oxford United boss. It's a clean sheet. Those are the little positives, I guess, but we're still so precariously placed at the bottom of this League One table. We've got barely no daylight around us, and this was a chance to get a little bit of breathing space and to maybe drag 1 or 2 others down into the sweaty palm zone along with us. But it wasn't the case. And I must say, Port Vale, based on the second half, I feel they deserved to win the game, had the better chances. Oxford were reliant on this newfound backbone that we've got and a superb performance from Simon Eastwood. But the score finished Port Vale 0, Oxford United 0. And as always, I will go over some team news. I will go over the match review, then do those player ratings, and then give my final thoughts. You can jump to any point of the video if you like, but please can you hit that like button, and please hit the subscribe button if you like the content. I'm trying to get up to 600 subscribers before the end of April. If you can help me do that, that will be great. So let's start with Oxford United, and they're playing in this 4-2-3-1 system, which they've adopted under Manning now, the same which they did against Peterborough and Sheffield Wednesday. Elliot Moore did indeed miss out after his concussion, which meant Stephen Negru came in for his first start for Oxford United. Gatlin O'Donkor also replaced... Well, he didn't replace Joseph, but he came into the side up front instead of Joseph. Joseph moved out to the wide right. Josh Murphy kept his place in the side, which meant Yannick Wildschut was the one who missed out. Josh Murphy playing on the wide left, Kieran Brown in behind the striker. I think that's a good fit. I think that O'Donkor looked good when he came on against Sheffield Wednesday, and Joseph looked better from the right-hand side. Up against a Valliant side who have been struggling. They've been in poor form themselves, epitomised by a horrible 3-0 defeat away at Accrington, which did us no favours at all. Daryl Clark and his side got a lot of criticism for that one, but he's made 4 changes to this side. 2 that we know about because Jack Stevens and Matty Taylor would not be allowed to play against Oxford United. Ojo was also sent off late in the Accrington game. Robinson also misses out for them. In comes Stone in goal. Conlon and Belling with the returning Ellis. Harrison, who has been linked with Oxford a few times, returns to the starting lineup. It's a physical Vale side, and they made no bones about making this a physical game today. And it was interesting to see if Oxford could stand up to it, and interesting to see if we could put the pressure onto a Vale side that have been struggling, and whether we could get the crowd to turn against them. First half was a terrible game, just like what we saw in Peterborough and Sheffield Wednesday now. This first half has been nothing to write home about and nothing to really report about. Vale were the side who started well in the first 15 minutes. They were the one who had more intent and they looked threatening from set pieces. But Oxford tried to hit Vale on the break when they could. But the passing was very slow and very laboured, and it was quite often it was easy for Vale to get back into shape. And it looked quite Oxford were just quite happy to just ease themselves into the game. And it did look better as the game went on. Referees seemed to be giving us a lot of fouls. And all in all, just a terrible first half. No real shots of note. I don't think there were any shots on target in the first half at all. A couple of times where Oxford broke beyond the Vale midfield, and you had Marcus Brown running at the back line, but he made the wrong decision. There was one where he did make a decent effort over the bar. Port Vale themselves looked to capitalise on Oxford's mistakes, and you kind of thought that may be where a goal might come from, is someone making a mistake. And yeah, they were always trying to hit the ball quickly up to Harrison or up wide and then trying to get onto second balls. But a really poor first half. It could only get better in the second. And you have to say, Port Vale will be scratching their heads as how they didn't win this game based on the second half. They had a ton of chances to win this game, but they were met by, yes, an Oxford United stubborn backline, but they were met by an inspired Simon Eastwood, who had a brilliant game in goal for Oxford United in this second half. It was easily Oxford's man of the match and kept them in the game. It was 24 seconds into the restart where Vale had their first shot. It was Pet who got onto a ball on the edge of the box as Oxford looked to really struggled to be able to clear their lines. He was able to get the ball down and shoot, but luckily for Oxford, it was straight at Simon Eastwood. 5 minutes later, it was Pet again from the edge of the box, but this time it was comfortably wide, and again it was Vale with a ton of pressure and set pieces, and they just looked the more likely to score. Again, it was on the break where Oxford looked like they might be able to get something. The likes of O'Donker was always a willing runner in behind. He did get a few scraps as Joseph did get into the game a little bit more as well, and obviously Wiltshire looked okay when he came on too. There was a stinging free kick effort from Cameron Brannigan, which unfortunately went straight down Stone's throat, and it was an easy save for him, but a good hit from Branners. But then it just became wave after wave of Vale attack, really. 65 minutes, Oxford do a poor job of clearing their lines, and a ball into the box loops, hits a Vale player, and just luckily for Oxford, it just loops onto the crossbar and then over the bar. And then from that free kick, or very soon after that corner kick, it was Benning who was the next to force Eastwood into a good save. Then Oxford did get a little kernel of joy, and probably their best effort of the game was when a break came from Oxford United and Yannick Wiltshire galloped clear. He played in Gatlin O'Donker, but Gatlin just lacked the conviction in his finish, and it was a good save by Aidan Stone to deny him probably Oxford's clearest sight of goal in the game. 77 minutes on the clock. It's Vale who go close again. It's a bouncing ball which Oxford just failed to deal with, and it's Ellis Harrison this time, I think with his first shot on goal. Maybe he had a header earlier on in the first half. His first meaningful shot on target, which Eastwood does well to save again. And a minute later, it's Vale again who just seemed to be able to, they just lined up a shot on the edge of the box. Oxford making no effort to come out and block Proctor, but luckily again Eastwood was able to get across and make the save and keep Oxford in it. The game was just slipping away from Oxford United. There was Brannigan who made a horrible lunge on the edge of the box, and it looked like referee was tempted to give a penalty but didn't give it, and then it was a Conlon shot straight from that, which may be why the referee didn't give the penalties, because the action just went to Conlon, who hit a shot which again Simon Eastwood was able to repel. Oxford's chances were few and far between, but you did sense as Vale pushed more and more, Oxford might get some joy. There was a great ball in the box from Brannigan, a free header from Stuart Finlay. He was unable to make a good connection on it, and it went wide. Joseph with a late effort as well, where he wriggled free, he got across. Scuffed effort really, and if O'Donker was on his game, he maybe could have got across and got into it, but it was cleared over the bar by the Vale defender. There was a late header by Stephen Negru. Would have been a great debut, but would have been a great dream first start for him, who would have got the goal. But Negru was still in the action late on in the game, where he received an elbow from Politic, and it was Politic who got a late red card in this one. There was a ton of injury time because of the late red card, and the game just went on and on and on. And Oxford's part just had the ball around the edge of the box, but again, it was so laboured and so slow, we just couldn't make it happen, despite the fact numerous opportunities to put a good ball in, either from open play or from across. Just couldn't get the job done. Oxford didn't deserve anything more than a point, and we were lucky to even get that in the end. We were just hoping that maybe this was our time to nick that 3 points and get this barren winless run over, but we can't do it, and we move to 14 games now without a win. But once again, I do have to stress, it is Port Vale who come away with this game saying that they are the ones who should have won it. So I guess from one hand, you have to be lucky that we did at least come away with something from this game where we didn't really deserve it. But I will move on now to those all-important player ratings. Our man of the match in goal, Simon Eastwood. An inspired second half performance by Simon Eastwood, made numerous saves, kept Oxford United in this game. He earned us this point today, make no mistake about it, and Simon Eastwood gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Sam Long gets a 7. He was solid at the back. He tried to make things happen going forward, but at least his defensive work was pretty solid, as was Brown's. 7 out of 10 for Brown's, as was Finley's, really. He's looking more the part the more the way that goes on. He's terrible with the ball at his feet, but his defending job he does pretty well. 7 out of 10. Stephen Negru, I'm going to give an 8. Maybe a bit generous because it was his first game, but I thought he did a really good job in there today. Won a lot of headers. It's difficult up there against Harrison, but he battled hard. He worked hard. He'll be better, even though he went off with a bit of a mangled face. He'll be better for that physical battering that he had out there today, and he does get an 8. But we move on to the midfield and the more offensive players, and that is where the ratings take a dip. And this is in no way, shape or form anything to do with the effort of the players, but more to do with the quality. But Brannigan gets a 6. He probably was the most likely to score out of the Oxford players today. But his defensive work's really good, but he doesn't seem to be able to get anything moving quickly when he's in possession of the ball, and it's all very slow and moving sideways and back. Same with Marcus McGuane. There was times where he got the ball today and he could drive at the Port Vale defence, but he doesn't seem to have the confidence to do it. He's got such a lack of end product, but he still does a decent job defensively, very calm head. Sometimes he makes mistakes, but generally he's pretty good at winning the ball in his own half and being composed and getting Oxford out of trouble. But it's the offensive side where Oxford really need to step up now. Marcus Brown gets a 6 as well. I think this is his worst game we've seen under Liam Manning. There was a couple of times where he made some good runs, and there was a couple of times where he was running at this Port Vale defence, putting them under pressure, but I feel he made the wrong option. There was a couple of times where he should have passed and he tried to go forward, and didn't really influenced the game too much overall. Again, his work rate, and still did a good job defensively, as everybody did today. But it's only a 6 out of 10 for Marcus Brown, as it is for Josh Murphy. He started to get into the game offensively. At the end of the second half, we saw a bit of Murphy, but again, he was able to get back and he was able to support Sam Long, but he just struggled to really get anything meaningful going forward. So it's a 6 out of 10, and it's a 6 out of 10 for Gatling O'Donkor as well. His effort was great, and he worked hard and he battled hard, and he did win us a few scraps, but he lacks that real conviction in front of goal. But again, there were some times where he tracked back and did some good defensive work. But we need goals, and nobody looks like scoring one at the moment. Yannick Wildschut came on for Marcus Brown after 61 minutes, and I thought Yannick did okay. He's still bumbling, isn't he, when he's on the ball at times? But there was a couple of times he had some good runs. He played O'Donkor in well for that chance, but he's still a lack of cutting edge from Yannick, but he gets a 6 out of 10. Brandon Fleming came on for Murphy after 70 minutes, and I thought Brandon Fleming actually played really well when he came on, and I thought he actually looked more likely to make something happen from a cross or from running down the line than any of our wide players today. So he actually gets a 7 for the small amount of time he had on the pitch today. There was a late substitution with Tyler Smith coming in from the cold when Aguero went off, but he came on far too late to grade. So we will move on to Liam Manning, and I'm going to give Liam Manning a 6 out of 10. Solid and defensively structured, we're looking good, but we need to start having some cutting edge. And this was a game where I wanted to see Oxford impose themselves on the opposition a lot more, and we didn't seem to do that. I don't know why he doesn't seem to make an attacking change by bringing Tyler Smith into the game earlier. Surely this is a guy who scored goals in the championship. You've got O'Donkor up front who was tarring, who was flagging. You could have easily made that change earlier on today. Other than that, I don't think the changes were too bad, but I just don't think there is this attacking intent that's really clicking yet, and that's the next part of the puzzle he needs to solve. But this was not a great point today from Oxford United. We'd have expected more from this one, so he only gets a 6 out of 10. Final thoughts. We're in trouble. We're in serious trouble. We needed to get a win today. We needed to find a way to win a game today. Those draws against Peterborough and Sheffield Wednesday were great draws. This needed to be a win, and we didn't get it, and we were lucky not to lose it. This was the poorest performance we've seen from a Liam Manning side today, and it's an Oxford side that really just didn't look like they knew how to break a Port Vale side down today. A Port Vale side who've been struggling, and we didn't put them under enough pressure. We didn't put them under enough intense pressure for them to buckle. Could have scored a goal, but the goal, it just looks so unlikely that we're going to score a goal. If it's not from a set piece or from a free kick or a penalty, we look like bereft of ideas from scoring goals from open play. And I don't know where Manning's going to change that from. We've got to find something now from those games against Bolton and against Portsmouth and against Barnsley. We really need to find a win in there somewhere, so it's not just going to come down to those final 3 games of the season. Those sides are beatable. Barnsley's probably the hardest one away, but those sides are beatable, and they are going to be nervous as well because they're fighting for playoffs and fighting for points at the top of the table. Oxford just need to find a way to win a game, and I'm surprised. I'm disappointed more than anything else that we weren't able to do that today. But at least we did not lose the game, and at least we are not in the relegation zone. If you're a Port Vale fan watching this, thank you for sticking with this video. Obviously, it's going to be focused more on Oxford United than you guys, but you're probably thinking this is the poorest side you've played in a while, and you're probably disappointed that you didn't find a way to win it. But that being said, you do have enough points now. A win today might have sucked you into it, but I think that win just keeps everybody at arm's length now, and you should be able to just ride out the rest of the season and have no problems about being in League One next season. I think that you're not the most attractive side to watch. You're a bit lump it forward and see how it goes. So be interested to know your thoughts on where you think Darryl Clark, if he is the man to take this side forward, how he's going to do that in the summer. I am sure there's going to be a lot of negativity in the comments, but let's try and look at some positives if we can. But obviously, vent and let me know your feelings down below. This is a disappointing one for Oxford United. We have to just shrug it off and go again against a big game now at Bolton at the Kassam Stadium. We just can't afford to let these games ride. We do need something from these next 3 games. It's not good, but we're hanging in there. But it's going to be nervy right till down to the final kick of the ball against Accrington, isn't it? Thanks for watching. If you can, hit like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. But if not, enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend or whenever you watch this video. I'll be back for the review of the Bolton game. Thanks. Bye for now.